Text 71. In this way, the Lord passed some days in great jubilation. Then the car festival of Lord Jagannath approached. Text 72. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first of all called for Kashi Mishra, and then for the superintendent of the temple, then for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Text 73. When these three people came before the Lord, he begged them to wash the temple known as Gundicha. Purport. This Gundicha temple is situated 2 miles northeast of the Jagannath temple. At the time of the Rath Yatra festival, Lord Jagannath goes to the Gundicha temple from his original temple and stays there for 1 week. After 1 week, he returns to his original temple. It is understood by hearsay that the wife of Indradumna, the king who established the Jagannath temple, was known as Gundicha. There is also mention of the name of the Gundicha temple in authoritative scripture. The area of the Gundicha temple is estimated to be 288 cubits by 215 cubits. The main temple inside is about 36 cubits by 30 cubits, and the meeting hall is 32 cubits by 30 cubits. Text 74. Upon hearing the Lord's request for them to wash the Gundicha temple, the Padicha, the superintendent of the temple, said, quote, "My dear sir, we are all your servants. Whatever you desire is our duty to perform." Text 75. The king gave a special order for me to do without delay whatever your lordship orders. Text 76. My dear Lord, washing the temple is not service befitting you. Nonetheless, if you wish to do so, it will be accepted as one of your pastimes. Text 77. Quote, to wash the temple, you need many water pots and brooms. Therefore, order me. I can immediately bring all these to you. End quote. Text 78. As soon as the superintendent understood the desire of the Lord, he immediately delivered 100 new water pots and 100 brooms for sweeping the temple. Text 79. The next day, early in the morning, the Lord took his personal associates with him and with his own hand smeared sandalwood pulp on their bodies. Text 80. He then gave each devotee a broom with his own hand, and, taking all of them personally with him, the Lord went to Gundicha. Text 81. In this way, the Lord and his associates went to cleanse the Gundicha temple. At first, they cleansed the temple with the brooms. Text 82. The Lord cleansed everything inside the temple very nicely, including the ceiling. He then took up the sitting place, Singhasan, cleansed it, and again put it in its original place. Text 83. Thus the Lord and his companions cleansed and swept all the temple's buildings, big and small, and finally cleansed the area between the temple and the meeting place. Text 84. Indeed, hundreds of devotees were engaged in cleansing all around the temple, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally carrying out the operation just to instruct others. Text 85. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the temple in great jubilation, chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna all the time. Similarly, all the devotees were also chanting and at the same time performing their respective duties. Text 86. The entire beautiful body of the Lord was covered with dust and dirt. In this way, it became transcendently beautiful. At times, when cleansing the temple, the Lord shed tears, and in some places he even cleansed with those tears. Text 87. After this, the place where the Lord deity's food was kept, Bhoga Mandir, was cleansed. Then the yard was cleansed, and then all the residential quarters, one after another. Text 88. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu collected all the straw, dust, and grains of sand in one place, he gathered it all in his cloth and threw it outside. Text 89. Following the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees in great jubilation began to gather straws and dust in their own cloths and throw them outside the temple. Text 90. The Lord then told the devotees, quote, I can tell how much you have labored and how well you have cleansed the temple simply by seeing all the straw and dust you have collected outside. End quote. Text 91. Even though all the devotees collected dirt in one pile, the dirt collected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was much greater. Text 92. After the inside of the temple was cleansed, the Lord again allotted areas for the devotees to cleanse. Text 93. The Lord then ordered everyone to cleanse the inside of the temple very perfectly by taking finer dust, grains of sand and straws and throwing them outside. Text 94. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas cleansed the temple for a second time, the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see the cleansing work. Text 95. While the temple was being swept, about 100 men stood ready with filled water pots, and they simply awaited the Lord's order to throw them. Text 96. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called for water, all the men immediately brought the 100 water pots, which were completely filled, and delivered them before the Lord. Text 97. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first washed the main temple and then thoroughly washed the ceiling, the walls, the floor, the sitting place, Singhasan, and everything else within the room. Text 98. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and his devotees began to throw water onto the ceiling. When this water fell, it washed the walls and floor. Text 99. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to wash the sitting place of Lord Jagannath with his own hands, and all the devotees began to bring water to the Lord. Text 100. All the devotees within the temple began to wash. Each had a broom in his hand. In this way, they cleansed the temple of the Lord. Text 101. Someone brought water to pour into the hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and someone poured water on his lotus feet. Text 102. The water that fell from the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was drunk by someone who hid himself. Someone else begged for that water, and another person was giving that water in charity. Text 103. After the room was washed, the water was let through an outlet and then flowed and filled the yard outside. Text 104. The Lord mopped the rooms with his own cloths, and he polished the throne with them also. Text 105. In this way, all the rooms were cleansed with 100 water pots. After the rooms had been cleansed, the minds of the devotees were as clean as the rooms. Text 106. When the temple was cleansed, it was purifying, cool, and pleasing, just as if the Lord's own pure mind had appeared. Text 107. Since hundreds of men were engaged in bringing water from the lake, there was no place to stand on the banks. Consequently, someone began to draw the water from a well. Text 108. Hundreds of devotees were brought water from in the pots, and hundreds took the empty pots away to fill them again. Text 109. With the exception of Nityananda Prabhu, Advaitacharya, Swarup Damodar, Bhavananda Bharati, and Paramananda Puri, everyone was engaged in filling the water pots and bringing them there. Text 110. Many of the water pots were broken when the people collided with one another, and hundreds of men had to bring new water pots to fill. Text 111. Some people were filling the pots, others were washing the rooms, but everyone was engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and Hari. Text 112. One person begged for a water pot by chanting the holy names of Krishna, and another delivered the pot while chanting Krishna, Krishna. Text 113. Whenever anyone had to speak, he did so by uttering the holy name of Krishna. Consequently, the holy name of Krishna became an indication for everything, for everyone who wanted something. Text 114. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was vibrating the holy name of Krishna in ecstatic love, he himself was performing the work of hundreds of men. Text 115. It appeared as though Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was cleansing and washing with 100 hands. He approached everyone just to teach them how to work. Text 116. When he saw someone doing nicely, the Lord praised him, but if he saw that someone was not working to his satisfaction, he immediately chastised that person, not bearing him any grudge. Text 117. The Lord would say, quote, "You have done well. Teach this to others so that they may act in the same way." End quote. Text 118. As soon as they heard Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say this, everyone became ashamed. Thus they began to work with great attention. Text 119. They washed the Jagamohan area and then the place where food was kept. All other places were also washed. Text 120. In this way, the meeting place was washed, the entire yard, the raised sitting places, the kitchen, and every other room. Text 121. Thus all places around the temple were thoroughly washed within and without. Text 122. After everything was thoroughly washed, a Vaishnava from Bengal, who was very intelligent and simple, came and poured water on the lotus feet of the Lord. Text 123. The Gaudiya Vaishnava then took that water and drank it himself. Seeing that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt a little unhappy and was also outwardly angry. Text 124. Although the Lord was certainly satisfied with him, he became angry externally in order to establish the etiquette of religious principles. Text 125. The Lord then called for Swarup Damodar and told him, quote, "Just see the behavior of your Bengali Vaishnava." Text 126. This person from Bengal has washed my feet within the temple of the personality of Godhead. Not only that, but he has drunk the water himself. Text 127. I now do not know what my destination is because of this offense. Indeed, your Bengali Vaishnava has greatly implicated me. End quote. Purport. It is significant that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Swarup Damodar Goswami that the Bengali Vaishnava was, quote, your Gaudiya Vaishnava, end quote. This means that all Gaudiya Vaishnavas who are followers of the Chaitanya cult are subordinate to Swarup Damodar Goswami. The Parampara system is very strictly observed by Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal secretary was Swarup Damodar Goswami. The next group of devotees was the 6 Goswamis, then Kaviraj Goswami. It is necessary to observe the Parampara system of the Chaitanya cult. There are many offenses one can commit while serving the Lord, and these are described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Hari Bhakti Vilas and other books. According to rules and regulations, one should not accept obeisances in the temple of the Lord before the deity, nor is it proper for a devotee to offer obeisances and touch the feet of the spiritual master before the deity. This is considered an offense. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was personally the personality of Godhead, and therefore it was actually not offensive to wash his lotus feet in the temple. However, because he was playing the part of an acharya, the Lord considered himself an ordinary human being. He also wanted to give instruction to ordinary human beings. The point is that even though one plays the part of a spiritual master, he should not accept obeisances or permit a disciple to wash his feet before the deity. This is a matter of etiquette. Text 128. At this point, Swarup Damodar Goswami caught the Gaudiya Vaishnava by the neck and, giving him a little push, ejected him from the Gundichapuri temple and made him stay outside. Text 129. After Swarup Damodar Goswami returned within the temple, he requested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to excuse that innocent person. Text 130. After this incident, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. He then asked all the devotees to sit down in 2 lines on both sides. Text 131. The Lord then personally sat down in the middle and picked up all kinds of straw, grains, and sand and dirty things. Text 132. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was picking up the straws and grains of sand, he said, quote, "I shall gather everyone's collections, and I shall ask whoever has collected less than all the others to pay a fine of sweet cakes and sweet rice." End quote. Text 133. In this way, all the quarters of the Gundicha temple were completely cleansed and cleared. All quarters were cool and spotless, like one's cleansed and pacified mind. Text 134. When the water from the different rooms was finally let out through the halls, it appears as if new rivers were rushing out to meet the waters of the ocean. Text 135. Outside the gateway of the temple, all the roads were also cleansed, and no one could tell exactly how this was done. Purport. In commenting on the cleansing of the Gundicha temple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally giving instructions on how one should receive Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within one's cleansed and pacified heart. If one wants to see Krishna seated in his heart, he must first cleanse the heart as prescribed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshastika, Chito Darpana Marjanam. In this age, everyone's heart is unclean, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Hridyas antasto hyabadani. To wash all dirty things accumulated within the heart, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised everyone to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. The final result will be that the heart is cleansed, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.17 also confirms this statement, Shinvanta Sarkata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hridyantasto Hyabadani Vidunoti Saritsatam. Quote, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, supersoul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire from material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. End quote. If the devotee at all wants to cleanse his heart, he must chant and hear the glories of the Lord Shri Krishna, Srinvata Sarkata Krishna. This is a simple process. Krishna himself will help cleanse the heart because he is already seated there. Krishna wants to continue living within the heart, and the Lord wants to give directions, but one has to keep his heart as clean as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept the Gundicha temple. The devotee therefore has to cleanse his heart just as the Lord cleansed the Gundicha temple. In this way, one can be pacified and enriched by devotional service. If the heart is filled with straw, grains of sand, weeds, or dust, in other words, abhilashita purna, one cannot enthrone the Supreme Personality of Godhead there. The heart must be cleansed of all material motives brought about through fruitive work, speculative knowledge, the mystic yoga system, and so many other forms of so-called meditation. The heart must be cleansed within and without ulterior motive. As Srila Rupa Goswami says, Anya bilashita sunya jnana karma nanavartam. In other words, there should not be any external motive. One should not attempt material upliftment, understanding the Supreme by speculative knowledge, fruitive activities, severe austerity, and penance, and so on. All these activities are against the natural growth and of spontaneous love of Godhead. As soon as these are present within the heart should be understood to be unclean and therefore unfit to serve as Krishna's sitting place. We cannot perceive the Lord's presence in our heart unless our hearts are cleansed. A material desire is explained as a desire to enjoy the material world to its fullest extent. In modern language, this is called economic development. Inordinate desire for economic development is considered to be like straws and grains of sand within the heart. If one is overly engaged in material activity, the heart will remain disturbed. As stated by Narottam Das Thakur, Samsare Vishanale Diva Nasi Hiajvale Judaite Na Kainu Upaya. In other words, endeavor for material opulence is against the principle of devotional service. Material enjoyment includes activities such as great sacrifices for auspicious activity, charity, austerity, elevation to the higher planetary system, and even living happily within the material world. Modernized material benefits are like the dust of material contamination. When this dust is agitated by the whirlwind of fruitive activity, it becomes the heart. Thus, the mirror of the heart is covered with dust. There are many desires to perform auspicious and inauspicious activities, but people do not know how life after life they are keeping their hearts unclean. One who cannot give up the desire for fruitive activity is considered to be covered by the dust of material contamination. Karmis generally think that the interaction of fruitive activities can be counteracted by another karma or fruitive activity. This is certainly a mistaken conception. If one is deluded by such a conception, he is cheated by his own activity. Such activities have been compared to an elephant's bathing. An elephant may bathe very thoroughly, but as soon as it comes out of the river, it immediately takes some sand from the land and throws it all over his body. If one suffers due to his past fruitive activities, he cannot counteract his suffering by performing auspicious activities. The sufferings of human society cannot be counteracted by material plans. The only way suffering can be mitigated is by Krishna consciousness. When one takes to Krishna consciousness and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, beginning with chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, the cleansing of the heart begins. Impersonal speculation, monism, merging into the existence of the Supreme, speculative knowledge, mystical yoga, and meditation are all compared to grains of sand. They simply cause irritation to the heart. No one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by such activities, nor do we give the Lord a chance to sit in our hearts peacefully. Rather, the Lord is simply disturbed by them. Sometimes the yogis and gyanis in the beginning take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as a way to begin their various practices. However, when they falsely think that they have attained release from the bondage of material existence, they give up chanting. They do not consider that the ultimate goal is the form of the Lord or the name of the Lord. Such unfortunate creatures are never favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for they do not know what devotional service is. They are described in Bhagavad Gita in this way: Tanaham Dvishata Kuran Sameshu Naradanman Kshipami Ajashram Ashubam Ashuravesh Yonishu. Quote, those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life." End quote. Bhagavad Gita 16:19. The demons are always envious of the Lord and are therefore most mischievous. By his practical example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown us that all the grains of sand must be picked up thoroughly and thrown outside. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the outside of the temple, fearing that the grains of sand would again come within. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that even though one may become free from the desire for fruitive activity, sometimes the subtle desires for fruitive activity comes into being within the heart. So if one often thinks of conducting business or to improve devotional activity, however, the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding, as described as kutinata, fault-finding, and pratishtaha, the desire for name and fame and for high position, jiva himsa, envy of other living entities, nishidachara, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra, kama, desire for material gain, and puja, hankering for popularity. The word kutinati means duplicity. As an example, one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place. One's real desire may be for name and fame. In other words, if one thinks that fools will accept one to be as good as Haridas Thakur just because one lives in a solitary place. These are all material desires. A neophyte devotee is certainly to be attacked by other material desires as well, women and money. In this way, the heart is again filled with dirty things and becomes harder and harder, like that of a materialist. Gradually, one desires to become a reputed devotee or an avatar incarnation. The word jiva himsa, envy of other living entities, actually means stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Preaching work is described as paropakar, welfare activities for others. Those who are ignorant of the benefits of devotional service must be educated by preaching. If one stops preaching, simply sits down in a solitary place, he is engaged in material activity. If one desires to make a compromise with the Mayavadis, he is also engaged in material activities. A devotee should never make compromises with non-devotees. By acting as professional guru, mystic yogi, or miracle man, one may cheat and bluff the general public and gain fame as a wonderful mystic, but all this is considered to be dust, straw, and grains of sand within the heart. In addition, one should follow the very good principles and not desire illicit sex, gambling, intoxicants, and meat. To give us practical instructions, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleansed the temple twice. His second cleansing was more thorough. His idea was to throw away all the stumbling blocks on the path of devotional service. He cleansed the temple with firm conviction, as is evident from his using his own personal garments for cleansing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to see personally that the temple was thoroughly cleansed, as clean as marble. Clean marble gives a cooling effect. Devotional service means attaining peace from all disturbances caused by material contamination. In other words, it is the process by which the mind is cooled. The mind can be peaceful and thoroughly cleansed when one no longer desires anything but devotional service. Even though all dirty things may be cleansed away, sometimes subtle desires remain in the mind for impersonalism, monism, success, and the four principles of religious activity, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. These are like spots on a clean cloth. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also wanted to cleanse all these away. By his practical activity, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu informed us how to cleanse our hearts. Once the heart is cleansed, we should invite Lord Sri Krishna to sit down, and we should observe the festival by distributing prasad and chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to teach every devotee by his personal behavior. If one spreads the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, accepts a similar responsibility. The Lord was personally chastising and praising individuals in the course of the cleansing, and those who are engaged as acharyas must learn from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to train the devotees. by personal example. The Lord was very pleased with those who could cleanse the temple by taking out undesirable things accumulated within. This is called anartha nivritti, cleansing the heart of all unwanted things. Thus, the cleansing of the Gundicha Mandir was conducted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to let us know how the heart should be cleansed and soothed to receive Lord Sri Krishna and enable him to sit within the heart without disturbance. Text 136. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the Nishinga temple inside and outside. Finally, he rested a few minutes and then began dancing. Purport. The Nishinga temple is a nice temple, just outside the Gundicha temple. In this temple, there is a great festival on the day of Nishinga Chaturdasi. There is also a Nishinga temple at Navadvip where the same festival is observed, as described by Murari Gupta in his book Chaitanya Charita. Text 137. All around Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees perform congregational chanting. The Lord, just like a maddened lion, danced in the middle. Text 138. As usual, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, there were perspiration, trembling, fading, tears, jubilation, and roaring. Indeed, the tears from his eyes washed his body and those before him. Text 139. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the bodies of all the devotees with the tears from his eyes. The tears poured like rains in the month of Shravana. Text 140. The sky was filled with a great and loud chanting of Sankirtan, and the earth shook from the jumping and dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 141. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always liked the loud chanting of Swarup Damodar. Therefore, when Swarup Damodar sang, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high in jubilation. Text 142. The Lord thus chanted and danced for some time. Finally, understanding the circumstances, he stopped. Text 143. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then ordered Shri Gopal, the son of Advaitacharya, to dance. Text 144. While dancing in ecstatic love, Shri Gopal fainted and fell to the ground unconscious. Text 145. When Shri Gopal fainted, Advaitacharya hastily took him upon his lap. Seeing that he was not breathing, he became very agitated. Text 146. Advaitacharya and others began to chant the holy name of Lord Nishinga and sprinkle water. The roaring of that chant was so great that it seemed to shake the entire universe. Text 147. When the boy did not regain consciousness after some time, Advaitacharya and the other devotees began to cry. Text 148. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed his hand on the chest of Shri Gopal and said loudly, quote, "Gopal, stand up," end quote. Text 149. As soon as Gopal heard the voice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he immediately came to his senses. All the devotees then began to dance, chanting the holy name of Hari. Text 150. This incident has been described in detail by Vrindavan Das Thakur. Therefore, I've described it only in brief. Purport. This is a matter of etiquette. If a previous acharya has already written about something, there is no need to repeat it for personal sense gratification or to outdo the previous acharya. Unless there is some definite improvement, one should not repeat. Text 151. After taking rest, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the devotees departed to take their baths. Text 152. After bathing, the Lord stood on the bank of the lake and put on dry garments. After offering obeisances to Lord Nishingadev, whose temple was nearby, the Lord entered a garden. Text 153. In the garden, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down with the other devotees. Vaninath Roy then came and brought all kinds of Mahaprasad. Text 154 and 155. Both Kashi Mishra and Tulsi, the superintendent of the temple, brought as much prasad as 500 men could eat. Seeing the large quantity of prasad, which consisted of rice, cakes, sweet rice, and a variety of vegetables, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. Text 156.
Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antya Leela, Chapter 7. Nityananda travels to Gauranga in Jagannath Puri, Naturally, anyone would be happy knowing he's going to the Lord and going to see the Lord, Sakshat Darshan, eye to eye, see Prem Purushottam, Lord Gauranga. And all along the way, all the way from Sachimata to Gauranga, Mayapur to Jagannath Puri, Lord Nityananda was engaging at kirtan and dancing. We heard that yesterday. And they were sporting from house to house in Gopabhav, Vrajabhav. Hey Mata Sarva Pata Premananda Rase Ailena Nilachali Kateke Divase. Passing the entire journey absorbed in love of Krishna, they arrived at Nilachala after some days. We heard that yesterday. Now we'll continue. Kamalapurete Asi Prasara Dekhiya Padilena Nityananda Murchita Haya. Arriving at a village called Kamalapur, upon seeing that village, upon seeing the temple of Lord Jagannath in that temple, Kamalapura, when you're coming from Navadvip or even Calcutta side by road, coming into Jagannath Puri, you cross over a Taranala bridge. Taranala, there's 18 arches. There's a new bridge now. And when you go over the new bridge, the old bridge I don't think is being used. You can look to the left and see the 18 arches, Taranala. 18 arches of the old bridge, which was there in Lord Chaitanya. It's the same bridge Lord Chaitanya walked over. There, it's a few meters separate from the new bridge. That goes over a river, Barginati River, I believe. And that village there on the other side of the river before crossing into the Puri district side is called Kamalapura. And from Kamalapura, coming from Bengal or Calcutta, of course that's Bengal, when you get to Kamalapura and you look to your right up the river, then you see the Shikara of Jagannath Swami and the beautiful flag, red flag or yellow, different colors they have, blowing in the wind. So when one sees that Dwaj, Jagannath Dwaj, Mandir Dwaj, then it's a great Udipan, Vibhav, Udipan, to stimulate one's Stahibhav, or intense loving attachment to Lord Chaitanya and his parishats, what to speak of Jagannath. So he's, when he saw, it says, Jagannath Deki, it says, when he simply saw the prasad, Murchita. It's interesting that it says, Kamalapurete Asi Prasada Dekiya Parilena Nityananda Murchita Haya. He arrived at the village of Kamalapur, which is about 4 kilometers, or sometimes they say 6, from Jagannath Mandir. But Prasad Deki, when he saw the prasad, he fell unconscious. That also happens to us at breakfast. Prasadam in the temple, when we see the prasadam, we fall unconscious. But then we soon wake up by the end of the prayer and start honoring the prasadam. As soon as the prayer is Shadira, and then we leave our Shadir. Shadira, Vidyadal, and then we fall on the floor. But he was actually absorbed in Premananda Ras, absorbed in love of God, and Gauranga Premananda Ras. And he saw, it says, Prasadi Deki Murchita Padilena. Padilena means to fall on the ground. And overwhelmed, Murchita, he was completely overwhelmed in a swoon of divine madness and rapture of love of Lord Chaitanya. And how so? He simply saw the prasad. Well, the translation by the very insightful godbrother, Srila Bhumipati Prabhu, he says that Nitai saw the temple. Upon seeing the temple of Lord Jagannath, he fell unconscious. I guess you're seeing the temple, but that's what you see from Kamalapur. As I mentioned, when you look up the river to the right, you see the dome and the red flag. That's the temple, certainly the temple. But the Bengali says seeing prasad. So prasad is prasad, mandir is mandir, Sri Mandir. Jagannath temple is called Sri Mandir, interestingly enough. Because as you know, every man is controlled by his wife. So the wife of Jagannath Swami is Sri Lakshmi. there's no way that she would allow the temple to be called Jagannath Mandir. She says, listen, I want to call her house, like you have sometimes people name their houses in India, so-and-so Bhavan and Vishwambara Bhavan and Radhanivas, etc., Mahaprabhu Bhavan. So then they were arguing. He said, I want to call it Jagannath Mandir. She said, no, this will never work. It's Sri Mandir. So as usual, Jagannath Swami and Lakshmi Devi had an argument. But as it usually happens, prevails in all these cases, the wife won. And it's known everywhere, all over Jagannath Puri, as Sri Mandir. Although we Westerners just usually say Jagannath Mandir, but it's written everywhere. Oh, I went to Sri Mandir. Did you go to Sri Mandir today? Go to Sri Mandir, get some prasad. Go to Sri Mandir and see Jagannath. Go to Sri Mandir and see Jagannath. It's not go to Jagannath Mandir and see Jagannath. But it says, doesn't say Sri Mandir, Jagannath Mandir, it says Prasad Deki, because the flag and the dome are the prasad of Jagannath. When it says in one place, it's called Tadinam Samarchanam. Tadinam Samarchanam. Tadiya Samarchanam. Tadiya. Those objects and articles and people and even places which are related to the Lord, to Bhagavan, or His pure devotees, they are equally worshipable. The Lord's form, the Lord's name, the Lord's dham, the Lord's parishads, they're all equally samachara, achara, worshipable. Samacharam. So he saw this prasad because the flags are offered, of course, to Lord Jagannath. They're his flags, it's his temple, and he's relishing the sound of the flag flapping in the wind and the beautiful look it creates, because it's his house and his mandir, and he has pride in his mandir, and he relishes. Everything in the house of the king is existing for the pleasure of the king, be it the walls or floors or furniture or incense or flower arrangements or carpets or tapestries, what to speak of the fountains and pools and art and sculpture, and people moving in the palace, and even the flags on the roof and the rooftop gardens are all for the pleasure of the king. So we have this mandir and we have a flag and we like it. We like to see it, and it's very auspicious, Vedic, to have a flag on a mandir. It creates good vibrations and protective vibrations in many directions. Jayadwaj, victory flag. So now he's overwhelmed, just seeing the dome of the temple, which he sees as not different from Jagannath. Niravadi Nayane Vahaye Premadhar Sri Krishna Chaitanya Bali Karina Hankara. Tears flowed constantly from Nitai's prema-filled eyes, and he loudly roared out, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, which he was chanting all the way, or the last 5 weeks of walking, or said a few days actually. After some days, he was chanting this continuously. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Asya Rahila Eka Pushpera Udyan Kibuje Tanhara Icha Sri Chaitanya Bhine. Nityananda came and stayed in one flower garden. Who can understand his desire other than Sri Chaitanya? Nityananda Vijay Janiya Gora Chandra Ekeshwara Ailena Chadi Ekeshwara Ailena Chadi Bhakta Vrinda. Understanding Vijay, that Nityananda Vijay Janiya, Gaurachandra understood the victorious arrival of Nityananda. Interesting, Nityananda Vijay. I think there's a Ekadasi called Vijay Ekadasi, I believe so. And this is somewhere around Ram Navami, maybe. I think it's celebrating, connected to the celebrations of Ram's victory over Ravana. Vijay. I know that it's mentioned in Shastras that on this particular Ekadasi is a very good day to go to war. If you're a Kshatriya and you want to attack a neighboring kingdom, then you should begin your journey on Vijay Ekadasi and you'll be successful. So he's Nityananda Vijay Janya Gaura Janya, he knows. And so then Gaurachandra left all of his devotees, Bhakta Brinda Chadi, Chordengi. He left all of his devotees, he went alone to meet Nitai. Because the intimacies of love are obviously to be shared alone. It's not a public exchange in these divine intimate relationships. At times they're all together in Sangha, Bhakta Sangha, and Sankirtan, Ranga. But other times it's Nibrita, Leela, private, confidential meeting of one-on-one, Radha and Krishna, Gauranitai, Krishna Balaram, Yashoda and Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya, he's always surrounded by devotees, but at this particular circumstance he wanted to meet Nityananda alone. And another point we can gather from the author's expert use of language and let's say Sahitya Alankara, ornaments of literature are called Sahitya. Sahitya means literature. Sahitya Alankara. His ornamental language is beautiful because he says Nityananda Vijay means, in one sense, Vijay means he was completely victorious and supremely victorious. And it also means arrival. So his arrival is victorious because his preaching, his traveling Sankirtan mission to Bengal and back, round trip to Bengal, was successful. Converted the Kazi, and so many people received love of God, and so much Sankirtan went on and so much preaching. So that was a Vijay, Sankirtan Vijay. What do we say? What does Lord Chaitanya say about Sankirtan? Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Not Vijayate, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Sankirtan. Jananande Jekane Achena Nityananda Seistane Vijay Kari La Gaurachandra. Sri Gaurachandra arrived in that lonely garden, and when he saw Nityananda, Nityananda was deeply meditating, absorbed in transcendental bliss. Seistan, that Bagicha Stan. Dhyan Ananda, the bliss of meditating. Prabhu Asideki Nityananda Dhyana Par Pradakshina Karite Lagila Bahutar. When Gauranga saw Nityananda sitting in meditation, he began to repeatedly circumambulate Nityananda. Interesting. Pradakshina, as you know, means prakrama or pradakshina, means circumambulation. So here, God is doing prikrama of his devotee. Nityananda is he's in Seva Bhav, Sevananda. And the Lord is so much appreciating him, and so he's doing prikrama of Nityananda to show his honor and respect and his love. Shloka Vande Nityananda Mahima Barniya Pradakshina Kare Prabhu Prema Purna Haya. Gauranga was Prema Purna, filled with love, as he circumambulated Nityananda. Then he recited a verse describing the glories of Nityananda, Nityananda Mahima Shloka. This is the system when coming before an exalted personality, either the Lord himself in a temple, Murti form, or an elevated, advanced Vaishnava. One should offer words of praise, either selected Shastric verses or self-composed verses in his native language, out loud. There was one devotee, I won't mention his name, godbrother, but he used to wait outside the Vrindavan temple in 1970, 5 or so, 6 maybe. And every morning Prabhupada would come out from his house and go around the side of the temple and past the fountains. Previously, it was quite beautiful actually. It was kind of a takeoff on Taj Mahal. There was no samadhi there, obviously, on 76. So that area from the front of the temple all the way to the street, which was actually a much longer area, the street got wider and chopped off some of the temple. But as soon as you walked in the gate, in the middle there was a reflective fountain all the way to the doors of the temple. Very beautiful. And on the sides there was just gardens. There was no samadhi, obviously. This reflective fountain was about maybe 10 feet wide and beautiful fence around it. And it was a pool, a reflective pool that had little spouts, fountains, 5 or 6, and it was beautiful, cooling and very beautiful. So Prabhupada would come out and walk along that, turn right and walk down Chatikar Road, which was a 1.5 lane wide road. It was about 11, 12 feet wide. 2 cars could barely pass on the opposite direction. And it's all bumpy and like this, and all bobble trees and neem trees on either side. You could reach out and touch the neem trees. Were huge, like so big neem trees. We all thought that Lord Chaitanya must have seen them. And they were in a row all the way down. And the trees would go up about 30 feet. Well, they went very high, but at 30 feet, all the branches from both sides would come across and make a dome. And it was just above the lorries. The big lorries are kind of high. They're maybe, 10, 20 feet. It was just above. And the lorries would go through like that, and the trees would go like this. And when it was so mystical and magical, you come from Delhi, from New York City, all the hellish pollution, the airports, and Delhi, and go down the road, and then you turn left on Chatikar, and you could see this tunnel, this love tunnel of love, these trees all the way down to Prabhupada's temple. This kind of beautiful, really beautiful, very beautiful scene. And they all chopped it, right? The Aristasura demon came as a bulldozer and knocked them all down. Anyway, 400-year-old trees. So this devotee, he used to stand there with folded hands, and Prabhupada would come out for his morning walk, and he would say in English very loud. Many devotees were there at festival time. All glories to Srila A.C. Bhakti Dhira Swami Prabhupada ki. And he would say it very loud, very strong person. And he would very, very loud. All glories to Srila A.C. And Prabhupada would walk by and just glance, kind of smile, glance slightly, and keep walking. And he was a little type funny devotee, a little goofy type. And all the sannyasis were a little out of, it wasn't exactly it was unusual in some sense. He was very loud, and everyone just, there was some kirtan, and people, probably it was quiet time, probably early in the morning. And one day Prabhupada stopped and said, so and so, why don't you go do something useful? Why stop all this talk and go do something useful? Go do some seva in the temple. Somehow my mind just went to that when he saw him meditating, then he recited a verse. Gauranga circumambulated and recited a verse to glorify Nityananda. So this just came to my memory bank of this devotee citing a verse to glorify Srila Prabhupada in his own language, which was simple enough. Shri Mukhera Shloka Shuna Nityananda Stuti Jay Shloka Shuni Lehaya Nityananda Mati. Now what's that verse? We heard that Gauranga met Nityananda alone, without anyone else, only the two of them. And Nityananda was absorbed in samadhi, dhyan samadhi, and anand bliss, relishing his own inner bliss, totally oblivious to the external world. And quietly, Gauranga approached him and did not disturb his meditation, but rather honored Lord Nityananda by circumambulating him and reciting a prayer, which is, we've heard this before, and now we'll hear it again. So then he says that Shimuk Shloka Shuna Nityananda Stuti. This is a Nityananda Stuti composed by Gauranga himself. Please hear the verse describing Nityananda's glories that Sri Chaitanya recited. By hearing this verse spoken from the beautiful lotus mouth of Lord Gauranga, one's mind will be attracted to Nityananda. So that's a Shruti fal of this Shruti, of this Shloka Shruti. This verse, the munificent our munificent benefactor, Vrindavan Das Thakur, who is none other than the literary incarnation of Gauranga and Krishna, Vedavyas. He's giving a boon and a benediction here. Please listen to this verse. It's Gauranga's verse, and he spoke it. Griniyat yavani panim vishedva shondi kalayam tatapi brahmano vandyam nityananda padambujam. Even if Sri Nityananda accepts the hand of an outcast woman, this verse we had before. Remember, one arm around. A yavani panim. Or he enters a liquor shop. Nevertheless, Nityananda's lotus feet are still worshipable, even by Brahma. Madhira yavani yadi dare Nityananda tarapi brahmara vandya bali gora chandra. If Nityananda enters a liquor shop, Madhira means liquor, or accepts the hand of an outcast woman, he is still worshipable by even Brahma. Say shloka pari prabhu prema brishti kari Nityananda pradakshina kari gora hari. Gora Hari Mahaprabhu generated a shower of ecstatic love of God, prema brishti kari, as he recited this verse and circumambulated Nityananda. It's amazing how things work in the spiritual realm with the Lord and His devotees. The verse is about liquor and outcasts. So Madhira and Yavanis, a Yavana woman, a Yavani, an outcast, an Antyaja, a non-Vedic person, an aboriginal practically. The verse is about liquor and low-class women. But by reciting this verse, the whole world became showered with love of God. Prema Drishti. Very interesting, ironic point. Nityananda Sarupo Janina Sekshane Utilena Haribali Parama Sambrame. At that moment, suddenly Nityananda jumped up and with great respect started chanting Hari 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 Parama Sambrame. Deke Nityananda Gora Chandrera Vadanna Kiananda Hailataha Na Jaya Varnan. The happiness Nityananda felt by seeing the face of Sri Gaurachandra is difficult to describe. Hari Bali Singhanad Lagila Karite Premanande Achara Padena Pritivite. Nityananda roared like a lion. He chanted the name of Hari and he fell forcefully to the ground in ecstatic love of God. Achara Padena Pritivite. Duijana Pradakshina Kari Dunha Kare Tune Danda Bhattahai Padena Duhane. Then Gauranitai circumambulated each other and offered obeisances to each other, offered dandavats to each other. Shani Dui Prabhukari Prema Lingan Shani Gala Dari Kari Ananda Krandan. One moment Gauranitai embraced with love. The next moment they cried as they held each other's necks. Ananda Krandan. Shani Paranande Gadi Jaya Duijan Mahamata Singhajini Dunhara Gajan. In another moment Gaur Nitai rolled on the ground in transcendental happiness. Then they both roared louder than mad lions. Apparently the ecstasy is so great and so eruptuous that they can't contain the volcanic vibrations of their hearts. They're just simply shouting and roaring and rolling on the ground and holding on each other's necks and crying. It's a tremendous atomic outburst of emotions and sentiments. Ki adbhuta priti se karina duejan purve jena shuni jache Shri Rama Lakshman. The wonderful reciprocation of love between Gaur Nitai was like that previously found between Ram and Lakshman. This is Sakya Ras, mixed with some Vatsalya also. Dui Jani Shloka Pari Varnena Dunhare Dune Jodi Haste Namaskare. Gaur Nitai recited verses glorifying each other. Then they offered obeisances with folded hands to each other. Namaskar. Ashru Kampa Hasya Morcha Pulaka Vaivarnya Krishna Bhakti Vikarera Jatachi Marma. Gaur Nitai were shedding tears and trembling, laughing, falling unconscious. Their hairs were standing in end, their bodies were changing color, and other bodily transformations. Krishna Bhakti Vikar, produced by Krishna Bhakti, were forcefully manifest in those two lords. Everything going on at once. Sthai, Rati, Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvik Vikars. Hiya bai dui Shri Vigrahayara nai Sabe Kari Karajena Chaitanya Gosai. Those symptoms were found only in the bodies of Gaur Nitai. Lord Chaitanya personally manifested such symptoms and also manifested them in others. Ki Adbhuta Prema Bhakti Haila Prakash Nayana Bariya Deke Jaye Kanta Das. Such wonderful ecstatic devotional love, Adbhuta Prem, is seen by an unalloyed servant of the Lord to his full satisfaction. If someone is an Ekanta Das, Ekanta Das means a servant whose heart is undivided, a servant whose heart has no separate interest or independent desire, nor is his heart or mind clouded or sullied by material desires or ulterior motives. Ekanta Das, he's an Ekanta Bhakta, Ananya Bhakta. Ekanta Das refers to the pure servant. They don't have and never will have any separate interests from the Lord. Tabe katakshane Prabhu Jora Hasta Kari Nityananda Pratistuti Kari Gora Hari. After some time, Gora Hari collected himself, folded his hands, and began to offer prayers in glorification of Nityananda. About 35 prayers. Lord Chaitanya glorified Lord Nityananda with 35 original prayers. Stutis, Nityananda Stuti, Kari Gora Hari. Of course, he's Nimai Pandit. He can compose 3,000 prayers in glorification of Nityananda. Let's hear a selection of these prayers, and then we maybe hear the rest of them at some later time. Nama Rupe Tume Nityananda Murti Manta Shri Vaishnavadam Tumi Ishvarananta Gauranga said, "O Nityananda, you are Nam Rup, Murti Manta. You are the personified form of the holy name, Nam Rup, and the form of Nityananda, eternal bliss. Murti Manta. Murti Manta. Nityananda Murti. You're the Murti Manta. You're the Murti Manta of eternal bliss. That's why you're Nityananda. And you're Nam Rup. Nam Rup avatar. Nityananda. This is the words of Gauranga. Sri Vaishnav Dham. And you are the abode and of all the Vaishnavas. All the Vaishnavas are residing in your heart and with you. And you yourself are Lord Ananta. You are Ananta Ishvara. You are the Ishvara Ananta. Purport. Nityananda is a personification of his own holy name and form. And he quotes in different scriptures here about Nityananda. As one without a second. He's a source of all relishable relationships. And he's a form of eternal bliss, and he's expansion of Krishna. Nityananda ki jai. Now there's another verse. Lord Gauranga said, Jatakichu tamara shriyangera alankar satya 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 bhakti yoga avatar. All the beautiful golden jeweled ornaments decorating your transcendental body, your beautiful Sri Angera, are actually incarnations of bhakti to Krishna. Bhakti Yoga Avatar. This is the truth, the truth, the truth. So this is an interesting way of describing Nityananda, very poetic and philosophically clever way of describing Nityananda as a source of the avatars. Because Balaram, of course, is Nityananda, and Balaram expands as Purusha avatars, and all the Das avatars expand from these Purusha avatars. And Balaram is the source of this whole. All these different avatars are coming through Balaram one way or another. It says in Bhagavatam that Shirdakshay Vishnu, who is also expanded from Nityananda or Balaram, is the gateway or the doorway by which all the other forms of the Lord enter this material world from their various abodes, even Krishna. That's why the less broad-minded or less learned scholars or teachers of Indology or Indian religious thought, they write in the dictionaries Krishna, the seventh avatar of Vishnu, or eighth avatar of Vishnu, as if Vishnu was a source and Krishna is the eighth one, and then the ninth one is Kalki or whatever, right? Whatever it is. And the 10 avatars, Kalki and Buddha. Krishna is number 8, and then Buddha is number 9, and Kalki is number 10, whatever, Das avatar. But they're not understanding the whole picture, that Krishna and Ram, of course, are Krishna, Ram, and the Shring, although they pass through the gate or they enter this particular material universe through the Lord Vishnu, who is the maintainer of this particular universe, Shirdakshay Vishnu. But they have an origin beyond Lord Vishnu. They themselves are actually the origin of Lord Vishnu. Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. Ekaleshwara Krishna. That verse is there that all the incarnations come from Krishna. At any rate, this is a nice way of saying that the ornaments in your body are the Das avatars. Shriyangara Alankar. The incarnations of devotional service, because these various Bhakti Yoga avatars, these various Das avatars, they represent different aspects of devotional service, surrender, Sharanagati, chanting, etc. Swarna Mukti Hirak Kasa Rudrakshadi Rupe Nana Vida Bhakti Dari Jacha Nija Suke Nityananda, said Gauranga, you take pleasure in decorating yourself with the 9 processes of devotional service in the form of ornaments bedecked with gold, pearls, diamonds, and rudrakshas. So he's absorbed in the 9 forms of devotional service, and he's a perfect example of them all. And those are his ornaments. That's what they say, sarubhushanam. These are figurative. This is figures of speech, as I said, alankar, ornaments. As Kapila Muni describes the sadhu lakshana, and he compares it to ornaments also. Bhushanam, alankar, bhushanam, ornaments. Titiksha kurunika surda sarvadehana, ajata shatra shanto saranam sarva sarabhushanam. He says there in 3rd canto that these are the ornaments of a sadhu. And so they're not really gold necklaces, they're not really ruby necklaces. They're actually tolerance and friendship and compassion and non-envious and no enemies. Sridham Sarvadayana, friend of all living entities. These are the ornaments of the sadhu. So of course that's the sadhu. There's an exception here because Nityananda is God and he doesn't decorate himself literally in ornaments. But these ornaments are symbolic also because they represent these 9 forms of devotional service which he, being Adi Guru, is teaching and spreading all over the world. So he is the embodiment, Bhakti Murti himself, and each of the different jewels represent the jewel-like practices of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Padasevanam. And all these are jewels in themselves, and they're special kinds of jewels. Each of these, Navavida Bhakti, the 9 limbs, the 9 forms of devotional service, each of them is a jewel unto itself, and a very special jewel is the Chintamani gem. It's a touchstone, it's a thought gem. Any one form of devotional service can fulfill all your desires and more. Give you love of God, give you Krishna. You can perfect your life and attain love of God simply by hearing about Krishna, absorbing yourself in the jewel-like practice of Bhagavad Shravan. Dasamaskanda Bhagavad Shravan Rasika Bhakta Sahasanga. Any association of Rasik Vaishnavas, Lobamayi Rasik Vaishnavas, and hearing Dasamaskanda, the pastimes of Krishna, especially in Vrindavan, then one can, just by that one process, attain Krishna Prema. This was exemplified by Parikshit Maharaj, who heard from Rasik Vaishnav Shukadev Goswami, all about the Ras Leela and all the Bhagavatam, attained perfection. And then simply by chanting the glories of the Lord, Shravanam Kirtana, by Kirtan, you can attain all perfection simply. Akhanda Kirtan, Kirtaniya Sadahari, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. And of course, Sankirtan, as we mentioned the other day, is not the narrow, limited view of only kol and kartal and dancing in the street and chanting. Sankirtan means complete glorification. It means writing about Krishna, giving classes about Krishna, distributing books about Krishna, engaging in Harinam Sankirtan with Kola Mridanga. These are all Sankirtan, complete glorification. And by engaging any one and focusing on any one can attain Krishna Prema. So that's a jewel, that's a Chintamani. A Navavida Bhakti Chintamani. So our Parikshit Maharaj attained Prema by hearing, and Shukadev by chanting. And Prahlad Maharaj, he attained his perfection by remembering Vishnu Smaranam. He was always remembering Vishnu. He was protected, he got everything. Simply by that Chintamani gem, that alankar, that ornamental gem of bhakti. He remembered the Lord, and the Lord protected him and nourished him and educated him and illuminated him and made him self-realized, empowered him to preach and saved him from numerous murder attempts by his father and his henchmen, and ultimately he attained darshan, sakshat darshan of the Lord and the Lord's loving touch. All possible by one form of devotion known as smarana. Nicha jati patita dhamma jata jan tamahaite haila evi sabara mochan. Nityananda, all the Nicha jati, the low birth, the low born people, Nicha jati means low janam. The fallen, low born living entities, the patita adam, the very fallen, wretched living entities, will now be delivered by your mercy. Sabmochan, all of them, means all of us. Them is us is them. We are fallen, we are wretched, we are low-born, we are Nicha Jati, Patit Adam, and we, only by the mercy of Nityananda can we attain mochan or mukti, moksha. Purport. The spiritual master removes the stigma of his disciples' low birth resulting from past activities. The Guru also frees the disciple from his misdirected learning and fallen conditions. In other words, all that slaughterhouse educational degrees, all those degrees that we picked up in the slaughterhouse of mundane education become corrected and elevated and adjusted by the proper input of the Guru's transcendental wisdom from the Vedas. Misdirected learning. The Guru does not sit idly as a pure and most exalted personality while leaving his disciple fallen, wretched, and low class. Nityananda Prabhu delivers all living entities from the conceptions of piety and impiety and superior and inferiority based on caste by giving everyone the science of self-realization. Jai Bhakti Dijacha Tumi Vanik Sabade Taha Banche Surasita Muni Yogeshvare. The Bhakti, Krishna Bhakti Nityananda, that you have given to the businessmen is desired by the demigods, sages, perfect mystics, and great yogis. So Bhakti, of course, is service, devotional service. That propensity to serve, this is ignited and awakened in the heart of the jiva by the mercy of Guru. The service propensity that you have given to the fortunate gold merchants, bankers, and businessmen, banias, who are socially classified as third class, inferior. First class is the Brahmin. Second class is a Kshatriya, and third class is the businessman. They're all free from the desire to enjoy Maya by your mercy. That's nice. Swatantra Karya Vede Jai Krishna Rekai Hena Krishna Paratume Karite Vikrai. Nityananda, you can sell Krishna, who is proclaimed as fully independent in the Vedas. So, if someone is independent or Swatantra, how can anyone catch him? How can anyone control him? How can anyone sell him? You have to own something, or own someone, or control someone, or have someone before you can market them or sell them. So he's in one sense, Krishna Swatantra Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, Swatantra. He's completely independent. No one controls him. Asam Urdhva. Bhagavan Sri Krishna is Asam Urdhva. No one is equal to him, Asama, and no one is Urdhva, above or superior to him. He's a supreme living being, the absolute truth, the creator, God. But yet, he's not dependent on anyone, but he's controlled by the love of his devotees. He gives up his Swatantra nature and becomes Prem Vasi Bhut. Prem Vasi Bhut means that that God is controlled by love. Prem Vasi Bhut. Only Nityananda can control Krishna. How so? By serving him. Sri Krishna is certainly the property of Nityananda. That's why Nityananda can sell Krishna to anyone, and he's opened a shop to do that. Nityananda has opened a shop, not only one shop, but a whole group of shops. In fact, he's opened an entire marketplace to sell Krishna. It's called Nitai's Namhat. Like you have the Sabji Mandi. Sabji Mandi is a marketplace to sell sabji. Tomato, aloo, kasifal, gajar, 10 rupees a kilo, gajar. If you go to the Sabji Mandi and Loy Bazaar, behind the shops, there's many. Have you ever been there? Behind there, inside, you go around like this, and there's a whole thing, and everyone's trying to call you over. And, hey, Hare Krishna, come here. Buy my lemons. I used to go there when I lived at Dhira Damodara. It's really fun, actually. And you argue with them and go back and start to pick up something and walk away. And it's really fun, actually. You ever went? Down there behind, you go to Loy Bazaar and go in this little thing, and it's like a fun in there. The monkeys jumping. The monkeys flying in from all over the place also, naturally. Stealing potatoes. So this is it. Nityananda has opened his Nam Hut and he's selling Krishna, the Nam Rup Avatar, Kali Yuga, Kali Kalira Dharma, Krishnam Sankirtan. He's selling the Kali Yuga form. God appears in the form of the holy name. And Nityananda is selling him, he's opened a marketplace in Navadvip. Come everybody, come on, Krishna, 2 for $1, 2 for $1, Krishna. 3 for $1, Hare Krishna Ram, 3, take him, take Hare, take Krishna, take Ram. 3 for 1. 3 names for 1 payment. What is the payment? Shadavan Janahe, Shadavan Janahe. Shadavan Janahe, Shadavan Janahe, Nityananda Mahajana, Nadiya Godru Me, Nityananda Mahajan, Nadiya Godru Me, Nityananda Mahajan. In Navadvip, Nadia, in the island of Godrum. Godrum is the island of chanting. Godrum. And Samantadvip is the island of hearing, I believe, Samantadvip. Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu keeps relishing it. So Godrum Dvip is a place of chanting, Sankirtan. So he opened his marketplace there. That's the place to distribute. And that's where Bhaktivinoda Thakur had his branch office. He took a franchise from Nityananda. Some years later he opened a franchise of the Namhata, also in Godrum Dvip, a little bit down the road, and started marketing the same product at an even cheaper price. Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Tamara Mahima Jani Bari Shaktikar Murtimanta Tumi Krishna Rasa Avatar. Oh Nitai, who knows your glories? Jani Bari Mahima. You are the personification of the transcendental mellows of love for Krishna. You're the Murtiman Krishna Ras. So Nitai is the Ashraya Vigraha, the personification of mellows of love of God. The form of the Lord whom we must take shelter is the Ashraya Vigraha. Nitai enhances the 5 types of rasa in relationship with Krishna. So we'll start again there, continuing with the prayers of Lord Gauranga, glorifying Lord Nityananda. Read from Chaitanya Bhagavat, chapter 7, Antya-kanda part 2, talking about Nityananda. He's in the temple of Jagannath taking darshan in Puri. And now he's gone to Tota Gopinath to meet with Gadadhar Pandit. Nityananda has just arrived in Puri after 8 months he was in Bengal preaching. It was Chaturmasya, so he decided to come and meet Lord Chaitanya in Puri, and then meet all the other members, primary devotees. So now he's going to meet Gadadhar. Tabe Jagannatha Hari Harsha Sarvagan Anande Chalila Gadadhara Darshan. After seeing Lord Jagannath and his servants, Lord Nityananda happily went to meet Gadadhar Pandit. Nityananda Gadadhare Ye Prityantare Taha Karibare Shakti Ishvare Sedare. The transcendental affection between Nityananda and Gadadhar can only be described by the Supreme Lord. Gadadhar Bhavane Mohan Gopinath Achena Yehina Nanda Kumara Shakshat. Nandananda, the son of Nanda Maharaj, in the beautiful form of Gopinath, resided in the house of Gadadhar. Gadadhar Bhavan, Mohan Gopinath, Nanda Kumar Sakshat. Directly the son of Nanda Kumar, young boy Kumar, Mohan Gopinath. That Mohan is translated as most beautiful form. Mohan means most enchanting, captivating form of the Lord Gopinath. The deity of Sri Gopinath, worshipped by Sri Gadadhar Pandit, is still present in one garden in Sri Kshetra, on the southwest side of the Jagannath temple, on the sands of the ocean. Apane Chaitanya Tane Karijachena Kole Ati Pashandiyo Se Vigrahadeki Bule. Lord Chaitanya once personally embraced that deity of Gopinath. Even atheists forget everything upon seeing that deity. Pashandi, Deki Bule. If an atheist sees Gopinath, he forgets everything. I guess he forgets his atheism when he sees Gopinath. Deki Shri Murali Mukha Angara Bangima Nityananda Ananda Ashura Nahi Sima. As Nityananda looked at Gopinath's beautiful face, which was adorned with a flute, Nityananda's tears of love could not be checked. Deki Shri Murali Mukha Angara Bangima. He was Deki, looking at his beautiful face with the Murali Mukha Angara Bangima, and his body so beautifully bent. Anga means body, Bangima means like Bankima Rai, means beautiful body, so bent so nicely. And he's Murali Mukha. It's pretty standard when you see Gopinath. He has a very long flute, and he's very big pose. His arms are like this. You remember? He has very long arms, and he's sitting down. And there's different flutes that the Lord plays, Venu, Vamshi, Murali. One is 6 inches, one is 9 or 15. And Murali is long, it's like 1 meter. So it's very long. Sri Murali Mukha. So he saw that and he started crying. So we've all been there to Puri, and we've all seen Tota Gopinath. So now we should recall that sight. Those files are in our mind, are in our chitta, and those sanskars, bhakti sanskars, are there in our consciousness. And the two most powerful sanskars are visual and audible, auditory and visual. What we see and what we hear are the two sense impressions which become most deeply engraved in our consciousness for further recall or memory. So we've seen there, and we've heard the glories of Gopinath. Now maybe we can try to imagine Nityananda standing there. Add Nityananda to the darshan of Gopinath. It was Nityananda and Gopinath. And Nityananda can't check his tears of love. Nityananda Vijay Janina Garadhar Bhagavata Patachari Aila Sattwara. When Gadadhar understood that Nityananda had arrived, he immediately left his recitation of Bhagavatam and came to receive him. So this is the example here. The Bhagavatam is the glories of the Lord, the Srimad Bhagavatam. But if the Lord himself comes, then one must worship the higher form of the Lord, not the literary incarnation of the Lord. The Sakshat Lord is there. Balaram's featured in the Bhagavatam, and now Balaram is standing before you, come to visit you. So you're reading the Bhagavatam. Yes, Krishna and Balaram went out to graze the cows, and now Balaram has come to visit you. Oh, Balaram, I'm busy. Let me just read about Krishna and Balaram. So he gave up the Bhagavatam to meet the Bhagavat. Bhagavat Patachari Aila Satvara. Nityananda Vijay Janina Gadadhar Bhagavata Patachari Aila Satvara. Ordinarily, one never gets up and leaves his recitation of the Bhagavatam, because he was reciting it not just alone, but every afternoon Gadadhar would recite the Srimad Bhagavatam in the garden of Tota Gopinath, and there were many, many devotees would gather there to hear him speak. King Pratapuruja would come, Kashi Mishra Pandit would come, Pandit Kashi Mishra, and Haridas Thakur would come, and Rupa and Sanatan if they were there in Puri, and Jagannatha Pandit, and many devotees would gather there to hear the Bhagavat Pat. And occasionally Lord Chaitanya would also come, practically every day. Now Nityananda's come. So he stood up from that and ran to receive. But generally when one is speaking Bhagavatam, it's considered that Vyasadeva is there. But there's a similar incident in the Krishna book of one person giving Bhagavatam class, and Balaram came in that assembly. Do you know who that is? Ramaharshan Sutta. And he was giving a Bhagavatam class, sitting on the Vyasa Asan, and Balaram himself came there during his pilgrimage of India. And then, this was, I suppose, North India, maybe. And then Ramaharshan was sitting there, and everyone stood up. All the sages and rishis stood up, folded hands to greet Balaram, Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Ramaharshan thought, I'm speaking Bhagavatam. This is the higher position here. I'm representing Vyasadeva. So he didn't show respect. So Balaram didn't appreciate that. He didn't understand Vaishnavachara. It's very important to understand Vaishnavachara, the achar, the behavior of the Vaishnava. In what circumstances, in what situations one has to behave in different ways, and one has to become very expert, otherwise he can lose his life. What to speak of lose his position in spiritual life. So Ramaharshan lost his very life because he didn't have the proper discretionary behavior. When Balaram came there, he should have stood up and received him. So now Gadadhar Pandit, he is knowing exactly what to do, so he left his recitation, Bhagavat Pat Chordye, and he went to receive Nityananda. Tune matra dekhiya tunhara shri vadan galadari lagilena karite krandan. Upon seeing each other, Nitai and Gadai and Nitai began to cry. Krandan, karite krandan. Anyonye dui prabhu kare namaskar. Anyonye done bale mahima dunhar. The two Prabhus, Gadai and Nitai, then offered obeisances and glorified each other. Donhe bale, aji haila, lochana nirmal. Donhe bale, aji haila, jivana saval. They both exclaimed. One said, "Ah, my eyes have become purified by your darshan, lochan nirmal." And the other said, "Jivan safal, my life has now attained all fruit and perfection. Perfection of my life. My life has become successful by meeting you." Baya jnana nahi dui prabhu sharir hai, dui prabhu base bhakti ananda sagare. Gadai Nitai lost external consciousness, baya jnana nahi. Any knowledge or awareness of the external reality, anyone around them, or what they were hearing or seeing or perceiving, they were lost in the world of love, the loving meeting of the two of them. They lost external consciousness and they floated Bhakti Anand Sagar. They floated in the ocean of the bliss of devotion. Hena se haila prema Bhaktira prakash Deki chatur diki pori Kande sarvadas. When all the devotees assembled at Tota Gopinath saw Gadaya Nitai, their manifestation of ecstatic love, Prema Bhakti Prakash. First is Bhakti Anand Sagar. Prema Bhakti Prakash. Then all the devotees in all directions, they started crying. Kande Sarvadas. Sarvadas, all the dasas were the Sarvadasas. All the many servants, they began to cry when they saw this effusion of Prema Bhakti Prakash. They were happy to see the love, outpouring of love between Gadai and Nitai and their Prem Milan. Ki adbhuta priti Nityananda Gadadhare Ekera apriare sambasha nakare. What wonderful affection there is between Nitai and Gadadhar. Neither of them would ever speak to anyone who was disliked by the other. So, adbhuta priti, amazing, wondrous, inconceivable love, priti, between Nitai and Gadadhar on Nangamanjari. Radharani's younger sister, Nangamanjari. And Gadadhar is Radharani. So Radharani's embracing her younger sister, floating in an ocean of love. And they would never speak sambasha nakari. They wouldn't speak to anyone who was inimical to either. If you're an enemy of my friend, then you're my enemy. This is the way the world works also. Gadadhar Devera Sankalpa Erupa Nityananda Nindakera Nadekina Mukha. This was the vow of Gadadhar. He would never see the face of one who offends Nityananda. He would never see their face even. So this should be the behavior of the followers of Nityananda. Nityananda is the greatest devotee of the Lord, and Balaram is the greatest devotee of Krishna. And if someone sees the face of an offender to Nityananda or a devotee, then don't look at their face, leave that place, and never see that person again. Avoid that person, no matter how near and dear they may seem to be. Because an offense to the devotee is an offense to God. Because the devotee is God's man. Nityananda is God's man, God's devotee. He's absorbed in the bliss of Seva, so he's a devotee. He's a servant of Krishna and Gauranga. And Gadadhar is Radharani. Gadadhar Devera Sankalp Erupa. His Sankalp of Gadadhar Dev, he wasn't Deki Mukha. He wouldn't look at the face of a nindak. We say Saruninda. This is what offense? The first offense against the holy name is the blaspheming devotees, right? Sadhuninda. So this is the most important, Saraninda. Because if there's Saraninda, then all the other things get lost. Everything gets lost. So he shouldn't see the face of a Nindak. Nityananda Sarupere Priti Jaranani Deka O Na Dena Tari Pandita Gosani. Gadadhar Pandit would avoid being seen by anyone who had no love for Nityananda Sarup. So no one had love for Nityananda, Gadadhar wouldn't even meet them. Tabidui Prabhu Stira Hayekastan Vasilena Chaitanya Mangala Sankirtan. Thereafter Gadai and Nitai became pacified. Dui Prabhu Stira, they became cooled down, all their ocean of love and ecstatic joy of meeting each other kind of reduced. Then they sat down to engage in Chaitanya Mangala Sankirtan and Chaitanya's auspicious Sankirtan. Chaitanya Mangala Sankirtan. So this is, we have Harinam Sankirtan, Nam Sankirtan. This is Chaitanya Mangal Sankirtan. Because actually, we in Kali Yuga, we're all the abodes of Amangal. This is explained by Vyasamuni in the first canto of Bhagavatam. The unfortunate nature of the residents of Kali Yuga. Manda Manda Sumatyo, Manda Bhagyabhadrata. It's a very nice verse from the first canto of Bhagavatam. This verse is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 1, verse 10. These are the sages speaking to Sutta Goswami at Naimisharanya. That they want to ask him so many questions, and they want to explain the need for this knowledge to be shared and conveyed because of Kali Yuga. Priyen Alpa Priyena Priyen Alpayusha Sabya Kalavasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Abhagya Upadruta. Priyena, almost always, Alpa Ayush, Ayu, Ayurveda. Alpa means less, Alpa Medasaha, less brains. So, almost always in Kali Yuga, men don't live to be 100 years old because they have Alpa Ayu, very short duration of life. In this age, O members Sabha, Vaishnav Raja Sabha, this member of learned society, he's telling, Kalo Asmin Yuge Jana, this is the nature and the age, Kali Yuga Jana, the Kali Yuga Jana, the Manush, the men and ladies of Kali Yuga, they don't live long. And in that short life they have in their hand, they spend it foolishly because they are manda, means lazy. Sumanda Mateo means that they have lazy intelligence. They are lazy, physically lazy. And moreover, they're mati, Sumanda Mateo. They're mateo. Mati means their intelligence, their discrimination is very slow and very lazy also. Manda Abhagya. And they're abhagya, they're unfortunate. And upadruta, above all, hiopadruta. He means Eva. And they're certainly very disturbed. O learned one, O Sabya, member of the learned society, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives, Alpa Ayusha. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So in a nutshell, they are amangal. So the residents of Kali Yuga are extremely amangal because of less short lifespan and less intelligence and lazy brains. We're lazy, as I mentioned one sweet note about determination. We give up before we even try. We don't even try. We don't give it the college try. They used to have a phrase in America. We'll give it the college try. Our mind convinces us not even to try. We don't even try. Oh, it's too difficult. We don't even try to see. Our mind tells us it's difficult and we haven't even tried. Maybe it's not difficult, but our mind is telling us it's difficult. We don't even try. We're defeated by our mind. We don't even try. So now there's something called Chaitanya Mangala Sankirtan. So this is Sankirtan. Everyone get together in Kali Yuga, all the Kali Yuga Janas, the Manda Jana, and do what? Well, we're all a Mangal, so we all get together, all of us unfortunate people, and we try to chant Sankirtan. May not be very successful, but we chant Chaitanya Mangal Sankirtan. We chant Krishna's name as in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Panchatattva mantra. Then that will create auspiciousness in our life. Our life will become auspicious by contacting Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasani Gaur Bhaktivinoda. This is Chaitanya Mangal Kirtan, Chaitanya Mangal Sankirtan. So we sit down and we perform auspicious Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya's auspicious Sankirtan, which means create auspicious positive vibrations in our lazy brain. Because we find that when we chant the name of Gauranga and Nityananda and Panchatattva mantra, we get enthusiasm, or Sankirtan. It creates auspiciousness and removes the laziness. And it gives energy and spiritual potency and energy, because Nityananda is spiritual power. Nityananda is spiritual power. He instigates. Nityananda instigates and excites the flow of devotion in the heart. He instigates and excites the flow of devotion in the heart. So and by that flow, one can actually chant Shuddhanam, the Shuddha Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Shuddhanama Mahamantra. So Nityananda and Chaitanya and the members of the Panchatattva, there are 5 forms of mercy that remove the laziness from our brain and remove the inauspiciousness from our hearts, so that we can actually perform Shuddha Harinam Sankirtan. So this is Chaitanya Mangal Sankirtan. Let's see. Tabe Gadadhara Deva Nityananda Prati Nirmantrana Karilena Aji Bikshat Iti. Then Gadadhar said to Nityananda, "Take your meal here today." So Gadadhar Dev, Nityananda Prati, Nirmantran, he gave him an invitation. Nirmantran is the same as Hindi, isn't it? Nirmantran means to get an invitation. So he invited him. My dear Nityananda Prabhu, Nityananda Sarup, Avadut, you are cordially invited to honor some Gopinath Mahaprasad. So we would certainly like to receive that invitation tomorrow to honor some Gopinath Mahaprasadam. So then they will find out about that offering tomorrow. This is Chaitanya Bhagavat, the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of his associates, Antya Kanda Part 2. And this is Chapter 7. And the Nityananda Prabhu has gone to one place called Tota Gopinath. There's a deity there, Lord Gopinath and Radharani and Lalita Sakhi. And that temple is situated on top of a hill, like Govardhan Hill. It represents Govardhan Hill in Jagannath Puri. And there are very beautiful trees everywhere around. And always a breeze is blowing off the ocean. The Bay of Bengal in Jagannath Puri, Orissa. So Gadadhar invited Nityananda to take prasadam, to take lunch prasadam there. And Nityananda had brought some wonderful rice from Bengal for the service of the Thakurji Seva, Bhat Seva, Chaval Seva. Nityananda Gadadhara Bhikshara Karane, Ekman Chola, Anina Chena Jatane. Ati Shukshma Shukla Deva Yogya Sarvamate, Gopinatha Lagi Ani Nache Gorahaite. As I said, Nityananda brought this very fine white rice, fit to be offered to Gopinath from Bengal. Very interesting point. We hear that even the Lord takes trouble to serve the Lord. And Nityananda is a form of Balaram and Gaur Leela. 500 years ago, Krishna's brother Dauji, Balaram, Baladev, he appeared as a Brahmin, not as a Vaishya or a coward boy, or coward man. He appeared as a Brahmin, and as the son of Harai Pandit. And he's not thinking, I'm a Brahmin, why should I do physical labor? Physical labor is the work of the Shudra, the labor of the Shudra. I'm a Brahmin, and my father's a Pandit. His name is Harai Pandit. But he didn't have any type of false ego or misconception about his true identity. Because he understood being a living entity and being part and parcel of God like we all are, although he's God himself. He understood that Das, 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 and Das. I am meant to serve Krishna. He's an expansion of Krishna, Nityananda, Balaram, first expansion, Sandini Shakti. But even he's in the mood. There's Purusha Sri Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and everything else, and everyone else expanded from Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, has expanded and has been created and manifested for the purpose of serving the center. The center is Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So unlimited expansions of Purusha, unlimited expansions of Prakriti, Shakti and Shaktiman, Purusha and Prakriti, Shiv and Parvati, Sita and Ram, Lakshmi, Narayan, so Nityananda and Balaram and all the Anantashesh. There's one, Eko Bahu Shyam. That's actually Syam. From one comes many. So he's saying, oh, I'm going to see Gopinath, and he's in the mood of a devotee. He's in the bhav, bhakta bhav. And he says, what can I bring to offer to the deity? Well, I'm coming from Bengal, and Bengal is famous for wonderful rice, as you know. They grow very wonderful rice there, especially in North Bengal. The rice is some of the best rice in all of India. Of course, it doesn't come much here. It's mostly exported to England and other places, because there's a port there, Calcutta. Generally, Indians eat rice from Punjab, or I don't know, where does it come from? Punjab. Dehradun, Punjab. Yeah, Dehradun is famous. That's UP, Dehradun. Uttaranchal and Punjab, these are, and Himachal, I suppose. These type of rice growing. But Bengali rice is very, very good. Many varieties. In North Bengal, they have a purple rice, very nice rice, and they have it also in Manipur. And they use it specifically to make sweet rice. And when they cook it, it comes out lilac or purple color. And when the rice is cooking in sweet rice, it smells like flowers. I've smelled it. And I thought there was some flowers or some ittar or some special agarbatti in the kitchen. I went there and said, what is this flower fragrance coming from the pots? Oh, I'm making sweet rice for Gopal. I said, what is this rice? And he showed it. It's like purple rice. Fantastic flavor, aroma, and taste. Sometimes people would come from Manipur and bring me some, but I'm not such a good cook. But I would try to make purple sweet rice. Girash, a few times. So he bought this, he was invited for lunch and he bought the saman himself. Gadadhar invited him. He's also a Brahmin, Pandit, and Pujari, Sevite for Gopinath Thakurji. And he invited him, Nityananda. And he didn't come empty-handed. It's told in Shastras, we should not go to see God or the spiritual master with empty hands. We should offer something, whether it's a piece of gajar, a carrot, or a handful of chickpeas, or a whole bag of 40 kilos of rice in this case. He bought 40 kilos of rice. So that means that he carried it from Bengal. Doesn't say he offered it. Means it says he carefully brought it. Bhikshar karane. He collected it in begging. He collected it and offered it to Gadadhar. And it takes 1 month to walk from Bengal to Jagannath Puri. In those days, there was no train 500 years ago. So you can imagine carrying 40 kilos of rice every day for 1 month. It's not easy. But that's the power of devotion and the power of surrender and the power of the desire to please the beloved. They say that one can do anything for the beloved. How much labor and how much difficulty a mother undergoes for the loving service of her child, carrying him in her womb for so many months, and carrying him on her hip and on her shoulder, or nowadays in some rucksack. You put some kid in some rucksack in the back, or even they have a front baby pack, whatever they call it, and they carry this child around. He weighs something. They don't complain. They may go all here and there, even hiking. I've seen in the mountains that husband and wife are in America, they're hiking for 10, 20 kilometers and carrying Junior around their shoulder. This is love. Hare kani vastra rangima sundara dui ani dila garadhara gochara. Along with rice, he also bought beautifully colored cloth. Rangima. Ranga means color. Vastra, you know, it's the same as Hindi. Vastra rangima sundara. Beautifully colored cloth, because Krishna he dresses like a dramatic actor on the stage. When actors or actresses, nayak and nayaka, they come on the movie screen or they come on the stage. In the old days, the analogy says stage because there wasn't movies in Krishna's time, but there were drama performances in Krishna's time, and theater and actors and all these things, and jugglers and magicians and all kinds of performers would come and perform on the stage in Nanda Baba's house in Nandagram and Nandagan, Krishna's palatial palace of his father, Nanda Bhavan. He has an entire theater, a royal theater, where there's so much drama productions go on there. Dance, and Bharatanatyam dance, all these things go on. He's a king. The king means he has lots of money and wealth, and he uses his money to finance and support the craftsmen and artisans in his kingdom, or even ones that may be traveling through, what we call traveling minstrels. Folk artists and traveling minstrels will come, and they say, I like to do a magic show for your children. All right, tonight we'll have a magic show. And then someone else will come and say, we want to do juggling and acrobats. We have a whole team here. Ringling Brothers Circus, or the Flying Burrito Brothers. When I was a child, there was a group called the Flying Burrito Brothers. And they were a group of 4 or 5 brothers from, of course, Mexico. They were Spanish, and they're very good in gymnastics. Back springs and cartwheel flips and all these kind of special, walking on your hands, like ta-ta-ta-ta. And one guy's walking on his hand, and he spreads his leg, and the other guy dives through and tumbles, and then they jump up, and then he makes a pyramid, then he jumps over him, like leapfrog, and many things like this. Flying Burrito Brothers. So they came to our high school and performed, and everyone had a good time. So such acrobats and gymnasts, they call gymnasts, they would come to Nanda Baba to entertain Krishna, Balaram, Subal, Sridham, and all the gopas. Because children love to play, and they love to see these things. So he bought beautifully colored cloth for Gopinath, because Krishna doesn't wear chini bori. He doesn't wear like some sadhus do. They wear chini bori. He doesn't wear a muslin cloth or some jute, raw jute. I've seen sadhus. There's one ashram called Jai Gurudev ashram, and that particular, I don't know what the guru's name is, maybe Gurudev, but it has a big temple over there on the highway, built in memory of him. And I went there sometimes and visited some sadhus there years ago. And everyone in his parampara, they wear, have you seen? Have you ever gone? They wear they take some old chinivori and potato, this jute sacks, and they cut it up and they make shirt or vest or dhoti or whatever like lungi, whatever they want to wear. It's not too much sense gratification there, but it covers the body and serves the purpose of that covering. But Krishna doesn't dress like that. He wears vastarangi masundara, always very colorful, beautiful cloth. So look at the offering. Nityananda bought some beautiful cloth and some food. So there's nothing more important in this world. What are the two most important things in this world? Dressing up fancy and eating. Dressing up, wearing attractive, wonderful clothes and ornaments, especially for women. They like this too much. Decorating their body, that's their speciality, to look beautiful. And everyone, men and women alike, they too much like to eat. Hundreds of restaurants, all kinds of various cuisines. So this is perfect thing to offer to God because He's the supreme enjoyer. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvalokam maheshwaram. He's the Bhoktaram. And so He enjoys fine food. You've heard of Chapan Bhog. Thakurji's Chapan Bhog. He eats 56 preparations every single day. In Jagannath Puri, Jagannath is Chakachak Bhog, 56 Chapan Bhog every day, rows, Suve Dupar Sham and Ratko, eating 7 times a day, 8 times a day. He has a voracious appetite. But his appetite is not for food, but for love, bhakti. So he wants to have regular installments of love offerings. So the pujaris and the worshippers, they're always cooking something wonderful, something sweet, something pungent, something to be licked, something to be chewed, something to be drunk, something to be sucked. Chaturvida bhajate mam, or Chaturvida Shri Bhagavat Prasada. I got confused with some other thing. Bhagavad Gita. 4 kinds of, what is it? 4 kinds of men worship Krishna, Chaturvida, but Vida means kinds of. So then Nityananda said, Giradhar, E Tandula Kariya Randan, Shri Gopinath Tere, Diya Kariba Bhojan. O Giradhar, cook this rice for your Thakurji Gopinath, and after offering it to Gopinath, you eat it. Kariba Bhojan. Tandula Dekiyat Hase, Pandit Gosai, Nayane Taetamata, Tandula Dekinani. On seeing that wonderful rice, Pandit Gosai laughed and said, I've never seen such rice before. Hey Tandula Gosai, Kivai Kunte Takiya, Jatneyani Nanchena, Gopinath Teralagiya. Because as you must know, so many ladies here, they're cooks and been cooking for years or so many years. So many types of rice, so many textures, colors, tastes, and also fragrance. So rice has a fragrance. It can have the characteristic fragrance of grains or have very unique fragrance even before it's cooked. So this is not only, he's saying, I've never seen such rice before. And of course, when you see an object, you have many levels of perception. If the object that you see has fragrance, then you will also smell the object. A flower. You see the object called flower, and you also smell it. And then you may feel that it represents some emotion. Many things can be registered by the mind and senses when they perceive objects in the environment. So it says only that he saw it. Nayane ta'emata tandula deki nani. He had never seen such rice, but also included in seeing is also smelling. Because rice does have a very wonderful smell. And being so amazed by what he saw and what he smelled in the form of that rice offering. Now, was he seeing something amazing in the externals of the offering of rice? And was he smelling something amazing in the externals of rice? Or was he perceiving something deeper which the rice represented? This is the question. Because the rice isn't is a representation of the heart of Nityananda, who was offering that rice to Gopinath. Because when we offer something, it's not the saman or the external object that we're offering, it's the bhav. It's the bhav, the priti, prem, pyar, the love behind it. You can see in a household, if a wife is angry with her husband, if she's serving food, she does on the plate. If she's in man or angry, it's her duty to cook and serve food to her husband. But here's your food, eat. The object is being presented, but the backing, the feeling, the position of her mind and heart is not very favorable, a very good mood. Because the husband angered her or displeased her in some way, and she's responding to that. Now someone who's newly married, and the wife is all about making everything perfect and exactly correct for the pleasure of the husband, and please take this. And so the object is being offered. So the backing, what's the mentality, the swabhav, and the bhav, the heart feelings behind it is so important. And that's what the person responds to and perceives. So Pandit Gosai is laughing. What's so funny about rice? Rice makes you laugh? When you look at rice, you start laughing? Do you? No. On seeing the rice, Pandit Gosai laughed. Tandula Deki Hase Pandit. Oh, that's very funny. It's the funniest rice I've ever seen in years. Because it was carrying something in that rice that was humorous. Because Nitai is always absorbed in Hasyaras. He's a sucker. He's a coward boy, Nitai Balaram. And one of the Gona rasas that the coward boys are always, children love to play and laugh. So he's always laughing. You read all through the pastimes of Nitai or Balaram. They're always telling jokes and laughing and eating and playing. Eating, playing, laughing, and fighting. What else do children do? They play and they fight about playing. Oh, you cheated, why this, that, you didn't do it right. And so they fight, and then they eat and they laugh, and they make jokes, and they throw food to each other, and they eat from each other, and they laugh. Oh Krishna. And one boy takes his samosa, as Vishnu tells, and then he opens up a little corner, and he starts putting in jasmine flowers, mogra, stuffs inside the samosa. Then he kind of closes that little piece of flower, He says, Krishna, I have a very nice samosa you take. My mother made it. It's too good. I already ate 2 of them. You should take. Well, Krishna's all right. Oh, inside that samosa was mogra full. Flowers were stuffed in there. And Krishna, he made this face. And he was embarrassed. And everyone was laughing. Oh, Krishna, this is very funny. What's going on? And the boy said, I put flowers in there, in that samosa. And Krishna didn't know, and he's eating it. And everyone's laughing. Then Krishna realized how ridiculous and silly it was. And he started laughing too. The Hasiras. So Pandit's laughing and said, Hey Tandula Gosai, Ki Vaikunte Dekiya Jatne Aninachena Gopinathera Lagia. Hey Nitai, you must have brought this rice for Gopinath all the way from Vaikuntha. He was thinking that it actually came from Vaikuntha. Lakshmi Matra E Tandula Karina Randan Krishna Sei Hara Bhakta Tabe Bhaktagan. In Vaikuntha, Lakshmi Devi alone, she cooks such rice for Krishna to eat. The devotees then enjoy Narayan Prasad. Bhakta Tabe Bhaktagan. That was what Gadadhar said. Anande Tandula Prashamsena Gadadhar Vastralaya Gela Gopinathera Gochar. After joyfully glorifying the rice in this way, Gadadhar took the cloth for offering to Gopinath. Divya Ranga Vastra Gopinathera Shiyange Dilena Dekiya Shobha Basena Anande. Gadadhar decorated his Thakurji, Gopinath, with that beautifully colored cloth, and then he floated in ecstasy on seeing the beauty of the Lord. Dekhiya Shobha Basena Anande. Basena means floating. Floating in bliss. And Shobha, that brilliant and attractive cloth on the body of Shriyanga, and the beautiful limbs, arms and legs and chest of Gopinath. Because the whole interplay is here that Gadadhar is representing Radharani, and Radharani's Krishna is named Gopinath. And so she was so happy, Gadadhar was so happy to dress Krishna. Sometimes Radharani dresses Krishna, Nitya Leela. Sometimes Krishna dresses Radha. And sometimes they even dress as each other. They change dresses, and Krishna dresses like Radharani, and Radharani dresses like Krishna. And sometimes they both dress up as Krishna. Govinda Lilamrita. Krishna dresses as Krishna, and Radharani dresses as Krishna. And then they fool the gopis. The gopis come in and say, "Oh, what happened to Radharani?" And then the gopis say, "Oh no, now there's two Krishnas." And the gopis start talking, "Oh, what happened to our Radharani? How will we go back to Barsana? When we leave the kunjas and this Madhyan Leela, the afternoon, and we return all the Sakhis together, we return to Barsana, then Vrishabhanu and Kirtita, the mother and father of Radharani, Kirtita Mata, shall say, 'Oh, where's our Radharani? We sent her out with you in the morning to pick flowers for Surya Puja, and you went and you did Surya Puja and you worshipped our Ishtadev. But where's our daughter? You didn't bring her back. Every day you come back. Oh, how can we face Vrishabhanu? And how can we face Kirtita? What can we say? This is a big problem for us." And they're talking like this in front of the two Krishnas sitting in the kunja. And then they say, "Well, let's talk to them and find out." Then Lita says, "I think that Krishna, he did some vibhuti or some tantra. He did some tantra on Radharani, and then he hypnotized her, and then he somehow took away her form and turned her into himself, or somehow tinted her golden skin and made it look sham blue, like bluish colored complexion, like Krishna's, Ganasham." And they're talking back and forth, and they say, let's ask, what happened. So, are you Radha, or are you Radha? Who's Radha here? So, so this, sometimes they even dress up as each other, and then what happens is that Krishna, to even make it more funny, one of the Krishnas, they're both sitting there on some kusa grass and they're meditating. And then one gopi said, "What is this? That Krishna's turned Radharani into some bogus yogi like him. Now they're both meditating." And then he says, "Oh, Radharani, what happened? One of you must be Radharani. What happened?" And then Krishna imitated the voice of Radharani. He started speaking. He said, "Oh yeah, that rascal. He did some jadoo on me, and he was hypnotizing me and taking away my form and turning me into him. And this is what happened. He just transformed me into him, and then dressed me up like him." And then the gopis said, "Well, how come you have your same voice? Because your voice should be deep like Krishna's, but it's the same high-pitched voice of a woman, and it's so delicate and beautiful." Yes. When I realized that he was hypnotizing me and turning me into, like, doing this jadoo and tantragami, then I went like this and went, "Oh, stop." And I covered my neck. And then, because I covered my neck, he couldn't affect my neck. He couldn't affect my vocal cords. So I got blue, but I still kept my voice. It's like something like this they made up. And then they said, "Okay, that sounds good." And so this is an example that Gadadhar, who was Radharani in Krishna's Leela, she dressed Gopinath so beautifully that when she was done, it was floating in ecstasy to see the beauty of the Lord. Prabhupada once, there's one quotation, actually wrote a letter because someone sent some pictures that they took, some of his disciples that were pujaris in LA, and a very beautiful outfit they had made, and dressed Rukmini Dwarkadish in this outfit. And they sent some photographs to Prabhupada in India. Then he wrote back a letter to the head Bajari. He said, this deity looks so beautiful with this outfit, this vesh, Thakurji's vesh, looks so attractive and elegant, tasteful and beautiful, that if you keep dressing and decorating a deity like this, then surely your heart will be decorated with the ornaments of love of God. So Prabhupada Gurudev was telling that
Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari Vajabhakata Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari Sri Gaura Hari Sahi Goshta Bihari Nanda Jasomati Chita Hari Dhira Damodara Ishaye Kana Bhoma Mandire Basi Kara Bojana Nandirani Deshi Bashi Giri Baradari Baladeva Saha Soka Boise Sari Sari Shukta Shakhari Baji Lalita Kushmanda Dalidana Durga Tumi Dadi Mocha Kanda Bodharotika Gritana Jaskuli Pistaka Kir Kuli Payasana Kapura Amrita Keli Ramba Kirashara Amrita Rasalama Dvadasha Pakora Luci Sinisar Puri Ladura Sabali Ojana Korena Krishna Hoye Kutuhali Radhikara Pakayana Bibida Byanjana Paramayanande Krishna Korena Bojana Chale Bale Ladu Khai Srimadu Mangala Bagala Bajaya Deya Hari Bolo Radhikari Gani Hari Nayane Rakone Rita Hoye Kai Krishna Jasoda Bhavani Bhojanande Priya Krishna Subhasita Bari Sabe Mukha Prakaloy Hore Sari Sari Asta Mukha Prakaliya Jata Sakadane Anande Vishama Kore Baladeva Sane Jambula Rasalane Jambula Masala Tahake Krishna Chandra Suke Nidradela Vishalaka Siki Pucha Chamara Dulaya Apurva Saya Krishna Suke Nirayaya Yasomati Anga Priye Danishtaya Nito Sri Krishna Prasad Radha Unje Hoye Prito Lalitari Sakti Gana Avashesha Paya Mane Mane Sukhe Radha Krishna Guna Gaya Hari Lila Ekamatra Jahara Pramoda Bhogarati Gai Thakur Bhakti Vinoda Bhakata Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari Bhakata Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari Sri Gaura Hari Sahi Goska Bihari Sri Gaura Hari Sahi Goska Bihari Nanga Dasomati Chita Hari Nanga Dasomati Chita Hari এবার করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই এবার করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই পতিত পাবন তোমা বিনে কেহ নাই পতিত পাবন তোমা বিনে কেহ নাই কতে গেলে আপো দূরে যাহারনি কতে গেলে আপো দূরে মন দয়াল প্রভু কে বা কোথায় পায় মন দয়াল প্রভু কে বা কোথায় সাথে পাওয়া গঙ্গার পরশ হলে সাথে পাওয়া দর্শনে পবিত্র করো তোমার দর্শনে পবিত্র করো তোমার হরিস্থানে অপরাধে করে হরি হরিস্থানে অপরাধে করে হরি স্থানে অপরাধে নাহি তোমার স্থানে অপরাধে নাহি হৃদয়ে সদা গোবিন্দ বিশ্রাম তোমার হৃদয়ে সদা গোবিন্দ বিশ্রাম গোবিন্দ কোহে না মোর বৈষ্ণব পরা গোবিন্দ কোহে না মোর বৈষ্ণব পরা প্রতি জন্মে করি আশা চরণের দূরে প্রতি জন্মে করি আশা চরণের দূরে নারথমে করো দয়া আপনার বলি নারথমে করো দয়া আপনার বলি বড় করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই বড় করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই পতিত পাবন তোমা বিনে কেহ নাই পতিত পাবন